and was met with a familiar gruff voice calling out to me. Akasaka! How many years has it been? It's been quite a while, hasn't it? Oishi, it really has been a long time. Oishi clapped his hand down on my shoulder, celebrating our reunion. Akasaka, you're looking pretty good. You look like a bona fide frontline investigator now. You're looking quite dapper yourself. Your posture seems a lot better. Is the ballroom dancing paying off? You should give it a try when you're still young. You'll be a hit with the ladies. A real babe magnet. Oishi had retired and moved to Sapporo, and of all things had started ballroom dancing lessons. He apparently got really into it and decided to spend the rest of his new life devoted to that hobby. He was aiming to get his instructor's qualifications before he hit 80 and live out his old age dandidly. I let myself into Oishi's car and we headed out toward the hot spring inn. I had originally intended to crash at Oishi's place, but Oishi was quite obstinate that his home wasn't suitable for that, so it came to this. At the inn, we relaxed while soaking in the hot springs, reminiscing about the time we played mahjong together in Hinamizawa. It seems that to celebrate our reunion, Oishi had looked for people who could play, but unable to find a suitable candidate, we had to give up on putting together a table. As we drank together, we excitedly recounted our exploits during the final manhunt. Did they end up catching those two guys? Nope. In the end, the search team never found them. They were probably hidden by the villagers and sent overseas or somewhere else far away to lay low for a bit. Oishi, if I remember correctly, you managed to grab one of their guns, didn't you? Did you learn anything from that? It was a Chinese-made military pistol. It was probably one of those gangs in Kansai that managed to smuggle in a ton of. We tried to get a match from the rifling, but it didn't show it up in any other cases. How about on your end? After that, I was removed from the front lines, so I don't know much. In the end, it seems like everything was settled under the veil of secrecy. Oishi smiled wryly as he sipped his chilled drink. What happened after that sure was tough, huh? This'll be 7 years now? Yeah. We held the memorial service a few days ago. I've become estranged with my father-in-law lately, so it was rough getting everything ready. That must have been a lot of work. It was then that the hostess brought in the extra drinks that we had ordered before. While the bottles of beer blinked as she brought them in, we halted our conversation. What Oishi meant when he said it must have been tough, thinking about that was still hard, but time had healed the wound. It was the day after, when I phoned Oishi to apologize. When I did, Oishi almost immediately handed the phone to one of my colleagues who happened to be there. Not only was I injured in the brawl with the suspects, but I disappeared to drink late into the night without leaving any sort of contact information, so I thought he'd definitely be mad. However, all he said was that it was something he couldn't talk about over the phone, and that I should come to the station as soon as possible. At the time, I could only think that he must have been really pissed off. But when I arrived, it seems your wife was involved in an accident. Having no idea what happened, I borrowed the phone to contact the hospital Yukie was staying at. After being given the runaround several times, I was finally able to talk to someone in charge, and after mincing words for quite some time, they told me Yukie Akasaka was killed in an accident. The world became a blur as I sat there dumbfounded. Yukie's death was unbelievably abrupt, unbelievably sudden. I could have understood if there was some kind of problem during the birth, but Yukie's death wasn't anything like that. On the stairs on the way up to the roof, she just happened to slip and fall. And she just happened to fall on an unfortunate place at an unfortunate angle. That was it. Wanting to blame Yukie's death on somebody, I began to think it was an act of revenge by the Defense Alliance that they killed my wife and made it look like an accident. When I flew back to Tokyo, however, it was much more cruel than that. Yukie had a habit of going up to the roof to cool off in the evening. There was an elevator up to the 7th floor, but from there you had to take the stairs to get to the roof. Even late in her pregnancy, when the evening came, she would always head up there. Her father had always said for her not to push herself, but Yukie insisted that until the time she had no choice but to stay in bed, she should be allowed to do as she wished. However, I had never once seen Yukie go up to the roof. I only heard that from her father and the nurses. That was because whenever I visited her, she would spend that time with me instead. I heard the reason why Yukie went up to the roof from a nurse she had become friendly with. She had said that her husband was away on business a lot of the time, and that whenever he called, she was able to cheer up and give him courage. But when he didn't call, she couldn't do that. Her husband might put on a show of bravado, but in reality, he grew lonesome pathetically fast. She was probably just the same. Whenever he left for business, not clear when he'd be back, she felt very lonely. Whenever she cheered him up, she was actually cheering herself up as well. That's why whenever he went far away for an important job on the evenings, he didn't call. At the very least, she felt that standing underneath the same sky, her feelings would reach him. At that moment, I remember the words the girl had told me, that it was best I had gone back to Tokyo right away, otherwise there would be something I regret horribly. Yes, that's it, because I was away on business that day. Yukie had headed up to the roof. Had I known that this would have been the result, had I done as the girl had said and dropped everything to head back to Tokyo, I might have been with Yukie on the day she died. If I was with her, she wouldn't have gone up to the roof. The day my wife died was on the evening, the third day of my trip. Yes, it was right before the time I had the sudden urge to hear Yukie's voice and ran around the village trying to find a phone. That girl had gone around and cut all the phone cords. If she hadn't, and I had made that call, I would have undoubtedly learned of Yukie's death at that time and collapsed in tears. Of course, even then the cords were cut. It only put me off learning Yukie's death by that one evening. In the end, I learned of it next morning. However, when I managed to put my emotions in order, I realized it was that girl's small token of consideration. That was the first I've heard about that. Yeah, it was the first time I've talked about it. Could it have been a coincidence? She doesn't have any special powers or anything. Aren't you the one who told me, Oishi, that she might have been the reincarnation of the god called Oyashiro? Well, yeah, the old folks in the village believe in that Furude Rika had divine powers. Divine powers? Oishi had originally said it was some kind of joke, but realizing I was serious, he slumped his shoulders. I don't know if it's the truth or not. They said she did things like prophesize the future or talk about things that she should have no way of knowing, that she was clairvoyant, that it was divine revelation. Well, all sorts of things, of course. They couldn't give specific examples, though. She prophesied Yukie's accident. Oishi tried to laugh it off, but out of respect to my deceased wife, he kept it restrained. Does that mean an active and capable investigator of the Metropolitan Police Department believes in divine powers and curses? Having him say that so bluntly, I couldn't respond. Of course, I had no intention of believing such odd things, but he could only say that because he didn't know what I did. Since I met that girl, who was and wasn't Furude Rika, I couldn't deny the existence of any otherworldly entity. Of course, I can't deny that it might not have been prescience, but rather than warning. Not prescience, but a warning. I don't know what the hell. Is it pre-science? What? Okay, I'm sorry. If what that girl had said was a warning about Yukie's accident, things became much easier to understand. Basically, the line of thinking became that it was a threat. Because I didn't go back to Tokyo, my wife was killed in a way that made it look like an accident. Not satisfied with the investigation into your wife's accident. Of course I suspected foul play. I pored over the results and even carried out my own personal investigation. There weren't any witnesses to Yukie's fall. There's a possibility that somebody had hidden, waiting to push Yukie down the stairs. However, the cleaning ladies frequented the roof to the hanging laundry. The security cameras on each floor hadn't recorded anything out of the ordinary. There wasn't anything set up on the stairs, and I was unable to find anything suspicious. In the end, even after my personal investigation, I can't think that anything else other than a simple accident. Well, of course, these were the guys that took the minister's grandson hostage. It wouldn't be impossible for them to push a lone pregnant woman down the stairs without leaving any evidence. Oishi's expression had completely sobered up. They murdered your wife. When Yukie died, I thought that as well. More precisely, I wanted to blame somebody. I created the most viable scapegoat, but without any clear evidence, that violent notion faded along with the wounds in my heart. Did that girl know beforehand about my wife's death and was threatening me? Or did she prophesy that death and was offering me a road to salvation? If I had to choose between the two, I would tend toward the latter. Oishi smiled slightly in disbelief as he poured more beer from his bottle. Then, if I may, if what you say is true, then Frederica was a prophet who knew the future. If so, why didn't she predict that disaster? If she knew the gas eruption was going to happen, why did she remain silent? Even a few hours beforehand would have been enough. If the village knew, then most people would have escaped without dying. The Hinamizawa gas disaster memorandum list. It was near the end of June 1983. Volcanic gas from the Onikafuji swamp erupted and hit the village in the middle of the night. It was an unprecedented disaster where the whole populace was wiped out. It caused a wave of panic about volcanic gas across the country, causing people to overreact over reports of odd smells. I hadn't heard of the blockade of Hinamizawa area being lifted, so I should have been cordoned off. It was my turn to be lost for a response. Well, if Frederica, the reincarnation of Oyashiro, was killed, then the village might have incurred the god's wrath, making him call forth the miasma from the swamp to kill everyone. That explanation is what the survivors are whispering about. Sorry, Oishi, did you just say she was killed? Huh? Yeah. Well, I don't think it would be a problem if I told you. When I saw the news about the gas disaster, I remembered that girl. I then found her name on the list of victims. That's why at that time I thought her own death she had predicted was due to the gas. It was after that I learned of the tabloids of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa during the 5 years leading up to the disaster that became known as the Curse of Oyashiro. And that string of mysterious deaths lined up exactly with what that girl had predicted. So I always thought to ask Oishi about it, as he had been involved in the investigation. That's right. That was the reason for our reunion. But right now, Oishi had said Frederica didn't die in the disaster, but was killed. Can I ask you about last year of the curse? I may be retired, but I still have to keep things confidential, you know. Excuse me, madame. Do you have anything cold that's brewed locally, high grade if there is? I'll leave the selection to you. I messed up. Oh my, I didn't mean it that way. Oishi laughed loudly, not wholly unsatisfied, stopped the hostess to tell her that cheap booze was fine. I know as much as what was written in those magazines, but I don't know anything about the curse that happened the year of the disaster. Because the entire area was sealed off around Hinamizawa, you see. There wasn't much of an investigation that could be done in the last year of the curse. Even if after several years the quarantine is lifted, the villagers are mostly dead. What few survivors there were mostly went to stay with their relatives, their whereabouts mostly unknown. It's a complete dead end. Oishi seemed to postulate himself as he stared at the ceiling, as if trying to work out a memory from the rusty cogs in his head. And then he said in a completely sober voice, the magazines made it seem like the curse of the 5th year was that disaster, but the actual curse happened on the day of the Watanagashi festival. A photographer by the name of Tomitake Jiro. He was the victim. Oishi gestured about how the victim tore out his own throat with his fingernails as he talked. And the burnt corpse of the woman Tomitake was in a relationship was found in the mountains in Gifu. Okay, so also notice that in Tatarei Goroshi, Oishi went missing. In this one, Oishi survives. Okay? There's a pattern there. Keep in mind. The Gifu Prefectural Police weren't very cooperative, so I don't know about it, though. And also, in Watanagashi, Keiichi and Rena, like, he's moving out in a month. It's been a month. And all the villagers were still alive back then. Okay? Because the gas disaster happens, like, before, like, sometime after Watanagashi or whatever, okay? But think about it. For some reason, in Watanagashi, the gas disaster never happened. Isn't that strange? What is that to consider? What could have made that different? And what about what happened in Onikakushi? Did something happen there? Alright. There were 2 victims in one night? Actually, see, it wasn't just those two. You see, the next day, Kumagai, one of my subordinates, disappeared along with his car in the middle of his investigation. So in this world, one of Oishi's subordinates disappeared. Kumagai was the younger detective that was going to be partnered with Oishi after we first met. He was going around the village to question people around the incident with Tomitake. He might have gotten caught up in something. If he was with me, he might have been safe. Even now, it still stings. That day, for some reason, I did a real number on my stomach. I had to pass out and going around outside. He got too close to the truth and was made to disappear. That's what I think. Kuma was young and had a promising future ahead of him, but he still didn't have enough experience on the scene. He wasn't used to dealing with any complications. Oishi lamented the fact that he wasn't with his subordinate that day. And then the next day, see. Well, you know him well, Akasaka. You know Dr. Irie. You remember him. That young doctor from the hospital. I vaguely remember. For whatever reason, he did something to himself with the sleeping pills. He had too many. He didn't have a note or anything. The autopsy confirmed that it was sleeping pills. Nothing was in doubt except for the motive. It isn't hard to make it look like somebody died from taking sleeping pills, is it? Any possibility it was a murder? He was single, no prior marriages. It didn't seem like he was going out with anybody in particular. He was coach of the local junior baseball team, and it was good terms with the villagers. He was liked by everybody. I couldn't find anybody who would want to do him harm. Well, any chances to investigate were ruined by the disaster, though. There's no way to find out anything about him now. Then what about Furude Rika? It was the day of around noon. Some of the old folks were visiting the shrine and discovered the corpse of Furude Rika. Murder? Before we continue, you should probably stop eating that squid salmon. That bad? Oishi nodded firmly. The corpse was found on the shrine grounds next to the donation box. Okay, so salmon's like noodles. Okay? Because, like, Rika's corpse and the intestines were spread out. You know? So, just like, you know. Although she was probably killed somewhere else, that's because she was completely naked. There wasn't any dirt on the soles of her feet. Any sign was some sort of assault? Like S.A.? According to the autopsy, there wasn't any indication with that. What we know is that she was rendered unconscious by some sort of drug, carried to that place, and had her abdomen sliced wide open. Her organs were deliberately removed and scattered about. Unconscious? She wasn't cut open after her death. That's horrible. That girl's prediction was right on the mark. I'm pretty sure she was more detailed about the other deaths that led up to her own. For example, I think she said the housewife was beaten to death on the 4th year and had her head split open. In that case, did she know that her own death would be so terrible? There must have been some moments where she wanted to doubt the validity of her own predictions, but as people died, exactly as prophesied, as the years passed, that prophecy would only come closer to fruition. And then, facing the final year, unable to struggle against her own destiny, her all-too-young life was snuffed out, and in such a cruel way. Knowing that her days were numbered, and unable to fight the tide of events heralding her end, my heart ached at her helplessness. About the way that she died, it seems like it wasn't just somebody's sick tastes. What I'm saying is what I told you before about Hinamizawa used to be home to demons, didn't I? Yeah, I think I remember. The festival in Hinamizawa, Watanagashi, the cotton drifting seems to have stemmed from the drifting of entrails. It seems it came from the man-eating demons ripping apart their victims and throwing their organs into the river. In other words, Hinamizawa pulling out entrails had some sort of religious meaning. Well, this is according to the old tales of Hinamizawa, you see. To act as an arbitrator so that the humans and the man-eating demons could live together peacefully, a god known as Oyashiro descended from the heavens. If I recall, Furude Rika was said to be the living incarnation of Oyashiro, wasn't she? Yeah. So, cutting open Furude Rika, who was a living god, would be to the village nothing less than absolute sacrilege. Absolute sacrilege. In other words, you mean sacrilege toward Oyashiro. The rest of you should know, Akasaka, the wrath of Oyashiro would occur that same night. The Great Hinamizawa disaster. The official explanation was some toxic swamp upstream erupted the toxic volcanic gas, which enveloped the village. I don't know. Sometimes my eyesight kind of goes wonky, so this probably... I don't know how that ended up there, okay, guys? Okay. So, this has something to do with Rika? So think about the other worlds in relevance to Rika. And we know in Watanagashi that Rika was kidnapped by, or tricked by Mion. Okay? Anyway, the swamp where it erupted was called Onigafuchi Swamp. It was the origin of Hinamizawa's old name, Onigafuchi Village. According to the village lore, the depths of the swamp apparently lead to hell, where the man-eating demons came from. That almost seems too perfect. Oh, no, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's another bit of folklore in the village. If Oyashiro became angry, the cauldron of hell would open up and a miasma would flow out, or so they say. To the villagers, hell was at the bottom of the swamp. So basically, the miasma poured out, smothering the village. Yeah. Basically, due to the sacrilegious way that Furude Rika, the living incarnation of Oyashiro, was killed, the village incurred the wrath of Oyashiro in the form of that disaster. That seems to be their explanation. So you're saying is that the disaster wasn't a natural one? Well, everything does seem to fit together a little too well. If Oyashiro's curse doesn't really exist and everything really was just a matter of coincidence, I would doubt it. A wry smile formed on Oishi's face as he listened to my absurd take on things. He wore an expression as though even if it were absurd, there was a time he had thought the same thing as well. In regards to the religious beliefs of the villagers, suppose there was more fanatical following among them, and that the group created a situation that would incur Oyashiro's wrath, and enacted the disaster to make it seem like the truth. Of course I won't laugh. I've wandered down that line of reasoning more than once myself. However, even though Hinamizawa is a small village, it has a population of over 1,000 people. To murder that many people in a single night doesn't seem realistic, no matter how you think about it. The gas eruption was believed to have happened around 2 a.m., several hours before dawn. In that short amount of time, going around and killing all the villagers in a way that made it look like poison gas didn't seem feasible at all. The swamp and the gas erupted from it still had some religious significance, didn't it? If that's the case, then maybe there was something that set up the swamp, something that could be activated whether a divine verdict was rendered. According to the JSDF press release, the swamp was declared the source of the eruption. This was after everything was thoroughly looked over by the investigative team. If anything that was set up, I think they would have found it. It wouldn't be absolutely necessarily have to be the swamp itself. Come on, haven't you ever heard about it? The old story about how the faraway spring dried up, the village spring dried up as well? What do you mean by that? Oops. Many waterways are connected by underground aquifers. Swamps and springs are the only parts that manage to pop up above the surface. So what you're saying is that Onigafuchi Swamp is connected to another swamp or spring. There's something that the villagers rigged up there long ago, something that changes the pressure of Onigafuchi Swamp, causing it to erupt with poison gas. Is that what you're getting at? Oishi laughed heartily, commending the fact that the youngins have a nice, flexible way of thinking. That was the former detective in him. Even though it was a hypothesis he didn't come up with, he still had the presence of mind not to dismiss it right away. That's an interesting theory. If that proves to be true, then it would be, unprecedentedly, the largest mass murder in the history of Japan. Once the quarantine in Hinamizawa village is lifted, I think it should definitely be investigated. Oishi, do you still have any connections with the XX Prefectural Police? Somewhat. I'm an honorary advisor for their judo classes, so even now I pop by the summer training classes and such. I don't know when the quarantine in Hinamizawa will be lifted, but please let me help investigate. Got it. Oishi, how do you feel about the string of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa they call the Curse of Oyashiro? At the time, the villagers were putting a lot of pressure on the station. The local stance on things was that the cases were unrelated, that each case was separate, each with its own resolution. That couldn't be, even though it was blatantly obvious that the cases were connected based on the village's religious beliefs. Akasaka, we can only say that now because of the rather grandiose way things ended after 5 years. At the time, those coincidental incidents just happened to coincidentally occur on the day of Watanagashi. It would be nice if nothing happened this year kind of feel to it. Coincidence? The girl predicted everything from the beginning. Girl. Furude Rika. That child warned me all about the incidents that would happen afterward. Akasaka. Is that true? Yes. The girl said as much. The next year, the dam foreman would be killed and his corpse would be dismembered. Not only that, she warned me of all the following events that would transpire in the following years. Akasaka, when she told you all that, what year was it? When I met with the girl, I was investigating the kidnapping incident, so June of 1978. The year before the dismemberment murder. Wrinkles formed between Oishi's eyebrows as he closed his eyes and began to digest what I just told him. Akasaka, if you're wrong about Furude Rika knowing the future through some divine medium, this is getting ridiculous. Yep. If you're just trying to shock me, I'm going to be really angry, you know. I'm speaking the truth. Then the script behind the chain of mysterious deaths that was written a year before it even started. And just as predicted, Furude Rika was killed. At first, I thought she meant that she would be killed in that disaster. However, now I know her death wasn't due to that, but rather an atrocious one at the hands of a murderer. She said she would be killed. At that point in time, she more or less knew how her own death would occur. Then why didn't Furude Rika not try and run away? Even if her death was already spilled out of her. Oh crap. Oh no. Oh no. Uh-oh, I'm streaming and I didn't have that thing in. Oh no. No. Hold on. Is it still doing it? Sometimes there's an error and that would really suck. Okay, let's continue. Okay, let's try again. Even if her death was already spelled out for her, knowing that she still had a grace period of several years, didn't she? She had plenty of time to try to run away or consult the police. Why did she just accept her death with no resistance? I don't know. Even though Furude Rika was doted upon by the older folks in the village, you see, after she lost her parents, she had no living relatives and lived a fairly solitary life other than hanging around with some close friends. It might have been why she didn't have any power to fight or anybody to rely on. She must have tried signaling somebody for help in regards to her own death, though? You know very well that the village and the police weren't very amicable with one another, Akasaka. At the very least, I never heard anything about Furude Rika seeking protection from anybody. Or could it be that she simply resigned herself to be a religious sacrifice? Could have been something like that. There's no way that was the case. I spoke decisively. At the time she said it, she had definitely said that she wanted to live happily, that she wanted to spend time surrounded by her dear friends. She hadn't given up on life. She had hoped to keep on living. At that moment, I became dumbstruck. What's the matter, Akasaka? No, it's nothing. I fell into silence. Oishi folded his arms and began murmuring in contemplation again. Eventually, he stood up and headed toward the hallway to find the hostess, yelling he wanted a pen and paper. When Oishi, noisy even though he was just thinking, left, the room immediately fell into a chilled silence. I stood up and I realized I was drunk enough to be unsteady on my feet. When I slid the open window, a beautiful and yet somehow ephemeral moon drifted across the night sky. It was just now that I realized she hadn't accepted her own death. She wanted to keep on living, happily and joyously. She had said that quite clearly to me, but I was a fool. I hadn't been asked explicitly, so I hadn't realized it. She had made it clear as day that she didn't want to die. Wasn't that her cry for help? She didn't say as much as she wanted help. But even given that, it wasn't as though she wasn't looking for salvation. Without any family and unable to trust the police, she instead told somebody without any relation to the village, somebody from a faraway place. Me. Help me. She had gone around and cut the phone cords. If I had made that phone call and learned of Yukie's death, I probably would have fallen into despair. If I was in that state, even if she was looking for help, her cries would have fallen on deaf ears. That's why, knowing everything, she had cut the phone cords. She wanted even a little time to seek help from me. Oishi just before now had lamented that one of the younger officers had gotten mixed up in the case, having been erased because he wasn't there. I was feeling the same way. If only I was there in June of 1983, I could have protected her. In 1983, it would have been 5 years since the kidnapping took place. While raising the only daughter Yukie had left me, putting all my youth and passion into my work, honing my wits and courage, wrestling with difficult cases. Nothing like my failings during the kidnapping incident would have occurred. I wouldn't have been slow to react in a one-on-one fight, and I'd at that point jump into foreign mafia-run gambling parlors where I learned to deal with automatic weapons, let alone handguns. I'd grown so much that in 1983, I couldn't have even been compared to how I was in 1978. That's why, If I was by her side, I should have been able to save her life. No matter what conspiracy or foul plots drew near, I definitely would have protected her. She, even though sounding resigned, should have still been able to ask me for help. I just didn't realize it. I couldn't realize it. Just as I wouldn't have realized if I was told of Yukie's accident, I wasn't able to realize it. I wanted to cry. If I had taken her words to heart, I would have prevented Yukie's accident. I would have been able to protect the girl to whom I owed a debt from even a predetermined death. She must have been expecting that from me. I learned that from the disaster while watching television in my house. Until I learned that I had forgotten about Hinamizawa. In order to recover from the shock of Yukie's death, I had tried to remove everything about the place from my memory. What an ungrateful fool I was! Even though in exchange for saving her, that girl had told me of a way to save Yukie, I was unable to accept her gratitude, and now here we were! She hadn't died in her sleep due to a natural disaster. She was split open while still alive, killed while suffering the disgrace of having her organs torn out. She must have known beforehand on that day, on that year, she'd be killed in such a terrifying way. But even knowing what end awaited her, she was all too weak. A lone girl without anybody to rely on, unable to seek help, had to swallow her own predetermined fate and left this mortal coil. She said she wanted to live. She said she just wanted to live happily. That's all she wanted. She didn't ask for anything extravagant for any person that was ever born. It was the very basis of desires. She never said a peep about wanting money or that she wished she was in somebody else's situation. She had said it. If all deaths were preordained, then hers was probably all according to plan. She might have been a lone frail girl, but I don't think that she would have accepted it all without at least putting up a fight. There must have been, in some small way, some form of resistance that she mustered. And with all that she could muster, seeking my help was part of that! God damn it! I howled. I stomped on the floor. Why did I become a police officer in the first place? How could I call myself an officer if I couldn't save a single girl from the misfortune that was awaiting her? Was it because there was so much going on that at the time I couldn't process the fact that she was asking for help? Yeah, that's right, I was still green. If I was in that situation now, I would have definitely been able to help her. But it was already all over. Even if I wanted to sell the regrets that she left behind, Hinamizawa as a dangerous area was still quarantined. Most of the people involved were already dead, with the few that did remain spread around the country, unable to be traced. The stage of the tragedy was still off limits as well. The police investigation was still put on hold, the case slowly being buried in the sands of time. Just like how I couldn't have known unless Oishi had asked me about it. Akasaka, are you okay? At some point, Oishi had returned with a notebook in hand. Until I saw the expression on Oishi's face, I didn't realize I was in tears. I never realized she wanted help! Akasaka, calm down. But it's all too late now! She was killed! In such an atrocious manner! She was counting on me, but I couldn't save her! I couldn't save her! I might have also been at fault for not building up an amicable relationship with the village. If Rika Furude had told me about it, I might have been able to extend a helping hand. I wasn't able to build up enough trust for that. That's something I regret. When Oishi said the word trust, it weighed on me even more. Yes, she had given me her trust. She trusted me. I mean, she thought that I would have been able to ward off the fate of her foreseen death. She believed in that. I cried and fell onto my hands and knees as I began to bawl. Eventually, Oishi spoke quietly. Akasaka, does it upset you? It does! Then, there's only one way forward worth mentioning for Furude Rika to have her revenge. Is there really a way to do that? Oishi showed me the pen and notebook. In order to properly mourn the death of Furude Rika, we have to at least find out the truth. The truth. Yes, and not just Furude Rika. Lots of people died. Their lament must be immeasurable, but their deaths were left unsettled because of the disaster, and now we can't even investigate them, as their memory fades into oblivion. Many people died. The old man was killed. Kumo was erased. Everybody was a victim, but the police can't even investigate it. Who's going to take care of their parting regrets? Only we can. Akasaka! We find the truth. Yeah, we'll find it. I've been around every one of the string of mysterious deaths and know all the inner workings of the village. You were told by an important truth the year before they happened by Furude Rika. We can do it. But they're already dead. That's right. Furude Rika died. You were too inexperienced, so you couldn't save her. Oishi grabbed me, who was a wreck, and lifted me firmly by the lapels. That's why, to atone for that, we reveal the truth. If what you say is true, then all the incidents were some part of greater design. If that's the case, then how we investigate needs to change completely. I intend to spend tonight summarizing all the information you and I have, and then get in contact with one of my former subordinates first thing in the morning. We're not going to let the case go cold. We're definitely going to crack it wide open. Crack it open. Crack it open! We will. Several years have passed, but it's not beyond the statute of limitations. Even if the case has been postponed, it's not closed. It's still going. We're going to keep it going. Oishi and I vowed to bring the truth of the case to light and stood up. Everything ended in 1985. I, at least wanting to apologize, had searched for her grave. After the state autopsy, her remains were entrusted to one of the shrine's followers. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa area was lifted, they'd be returned to her family grave. However, unsure who exactly took the remains of Furude Rika, until today I couldn't even apologize to her. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa is lifted, all I could do was wait until whoever that person is returned to the grave. What I could do right now was not apologize to her. Instead, until I was able to meet her again, I would reveal the truth and dispel her regrets. Even now, sporadic eruptions of the gas in Hinamizawa area meant that the prospect of the quarantine being lifted wasn't happening anytime soon. Most likely, it seemed that she had no intention of meeting me again until I found the truth. That's why the quarantine wouldn't be lifted, or so I thought. Until the day I grasped the truth. It was the following year Oishi and I co-authored a book on the string of the mysterious deaths leading to the great Hinamizawa disaster. I decided on the title, Higurashi When They Cry. That was because for those few days I was in Hinamizawa, the sound that I remembered the most was the cry of the Higurashi. I could only wish that based on this book, those people involved with that incident could refresh their memories and bring a light to a new truth. And more importantly, that nothing like this could ever happen again. I wrote this in the afterword. Why did this tragedy happen? We can't reach the truth by ourselves. If you're reading this, please discover the truth. That is our only wish. Kurado Oishi and Mamoru Akasaka. This year, the quarantine on Hinamizawa still hasn't been lifted. And that is the end of the original Higurashi no Naku Kuroni. And that means we will read Higurashi no Naku Kuroni Kai. But first, let's read the extras. And also, I need to do something. Wait, no. Hold on. Well, okay, let's read the tips. Alright, let's begin. We are gonna read the tips. The tips. And I'll see you tomorrow when we read Meikashi. What the hell? What happened? Hold on. Let's read the all-cast review session. Which means everybody has to be happy. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Cry Himatsubushi. Oh my, no matter what anybody says, I was the star of the scenario this time. On top of that, they added some nice jazzy theme music. If you can't laugh here, then where can you laugh?
Anyways, hasn't there been too much of you lately, Oishi?
Huh? What do you mean by that? Rika.
She meant that literally. It's rather impudent of you to try and hog the spotlight here, even though you already had all that screen time. Besides Rika, who was the main heroine, everybody else really didn't have an appearance, did they?
As in, Rika has always been the main character all along. I heard that this time the scenario was a bit of a side story, but I didn't think they would leave that much of the main cast this much.
You didn't have to so bad, Mion. At least you had a few appearances, did you not? Both Rena and I didn't even have a cameo. Rena still shows up on the covers a lot, so she's okay. Exactly what are you trying to say then? That I was only outcast with no appearance? Is that it? Nipa. They only treated me horribly. How sad, how sad. They'll probably just keep treating you worse and worse until you finally drop down to a supporting role. like Sadako, they won't treat you that horribly, okay? I don't like being treated like this! I think you'll probably have a lot of appearances next time. Next time! So cheer up, okay?
Ah, yes, Mikashi. Sadako will definitely show up. Ha 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 ha. Do I need to tell you that Mikashi is the answer arc for Watanagashi? What do you think that entails when I say it's an answer arc? But I heard that the scenario was supposed to be somewhat of a bonus story, but is it really? I think that things kind of got complicated.
The story was difficult for me to understand. Yeah, what I found the hardest to believe was the year before the string of mysterious deaths, Rika already knew about them.
Which means all the incidents were part of someone's scenario. That's a pretty important piece of information.
It's probably because I'm a shrine maiden, so I knew the future from Oyashiro's divine revelations.
For somebody like me who believes in the theory that was the work of human culprits, I'd like to deny that.
I believe in the curse so that Rika, who's the living incarnation of the deity that protects Hinamizawa, Oyashiro could probably have the divine power as a possibility, I think.
Nope. For somebody who thinks this was a work of man, that kind of unfounded fantasy will not stand. All the incidents were caused by people. There's no curse or magic or aimbots or cheat codes.
It would be wonderful if I could use magic, though.
Come, my emerald kitties. Ooh. Oh, yeah, and a 200 yen pack of plum tea. and tearing out the guts of something to do with miracles.
If it's Rika, I could go along with that.
Well, for the people who believe it was the work of humans, the ending was a big revelation. From the first incident until Rika was killed in the Great Disaster, everything was scripted. Knowing that it's all one big incident vastly increased the amount of material you can hypothesize with. What the hell?
I think the prophecy that has proven itself that Rika has some divine power. In other words, it's proof that there's some mysterious power at work in Hinamizawa. I think it's proof that the incidents weren't the work of humans alone. And the inside of my head is so muddled I don't know what's going on.
Oh, that's right. More importantly, that expression that Rika was wearing this time, that was super scary, wasn't it?
Me. Yeah, I was surprised too. I never thought cute little Rika would laugh like that.
Hey, just for a little bit. Could you show us that face one more time?
I don't want to. I don't want her to do that outside of the story.
What is this, a blackout? Nobody move, anywhere movements, and you'll come face to face with the combo trap that takes you from a pendulum to a line man to an electric chair to a buzzsaw. Sadako? What's the meaning of this? Oops, it was Sadako's voice.
We'll now be starting the after party for everybody who didn't have an appearance this time.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Hello again, everybody. I didn't think I'd have an appearance here of all places. I'm delighted, though. Sadako, thank you.
Well, hello, everybody! Oh my! Didn't I warn you not to move?
Ryukyu, are you okay? Hojo, you didn't have to go this far.
The grudge of somebody not making an appearance is a terrible thing! Sadako had a lot of appearances in the main scenario.
The grudge of somebody not making an appearance? Damn it. When was she able to set up this many traps?
Maybe that was when this place was selected as the venue of the after party. At that point, my traps were already set.
Oh, I know. There's somebody behind you pulling the strings. There is, isn't there? Come out.
Hello, my
sister. How are you doing?
Oh, it's Shion. Hello. I feel sorry for her falling for the same trap twice.
I thought it was you, Shion. Even though you're penciled in to be the main character in the next scenario, this is an outrage. Now you've gone and done it. Even if it's only the bonus scene before the answer arcs, I can't let my sister have all the appearances. I'm not that generous, you know. Well, in any case, I just let Sadako start a little something something. Ugh! Shion, what is it that you want? Let's just say I'm securing myself a little safety buffer. The other day, for some reason, you were sallying more votes on the popularity roll.
Yep. In the first half of Watanagashi chapter, there were a lot of people getting infatuated with Michan.
When your malicious side has made its appearance, all the players finally started noticing my charm. Sadako also earned a good reputation during the Tatari Goroshi arc. Rena and Rika also have a strong baseline of support. Your popularity has long since faded away. And that's why I thought I'd take the time now to crush you and Sadako, who have been getting too many votes for my comfort. Ha ha ha! Crush Mion and Sadako! Ha 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 ha! So I came up with this elaborate plan.
Shion, why didn't you just say this now? You're gonna crush me as well?
You're a little slow to notice, aren't you, Shorty? Here you go!
What?
Ah! Goodbye, all you regulars. Hello to all you irregular folk. All the main characters are dead for. Shion, you don't have to go that far, probably. No, Jiro. It's interesting, so let's let it be. The number of appearances for the both of us is going to go up, you know, Jiro. Do you not like being by my side? Ah, that's not true.
Chie, did Shi-chan pay you off too?
I'm sorry, Riku. Shion said that she would make a new segment called Teach Me, Chie, and start from the next scenario. So I just... Well then, who should I dispose of next in the most embarrassing manner? Maybe Sadako, since she helped me set this all up. I won't allow that!
Coach! He seems somehow reliable for once.
I, Kyosuke Area, shall not allow any aggression against Sadako. I may also just be a supporting character, but I don't think you can persuade me so easily. Oh, then you're saying you want to withdraw from being the lead-in live performance Sadako's maid training dress-up chapter that we plan on filming after this? Shion, I, Kyosuke Area, shall follow you to the depths of hell! That was fast! Well then, with this I'm holding all the cards, even this after-party scene too. I'll have everything proceed as I see fit. Huh? We're missing somebody. Shion! Rena isn't here! She escaped at some point! There she is! Ryugu! Didn't I just tell you shouldn't move? Rena, I won't do anything to hurt you, but it's easier if you don't resist.
Sorry, but all this is really bizarre.
What are you trying to do? The light switches. I see you're planning to do something when the room's pitch black, aren't you? Resistance is futile. Rena, you should stop your pointless resistance and just come along peacefully. If you make me angry enough, then not only will you suffer, but you'll also will my dear sister as well. You can't do anything just by turning off the lights! Rena, I'm sorry, but do what they say.
It's alright, don't worry. Just by turning off the lights, we can reverse this situation. Reverse the situation? Exactly why are you scheming?
Rena, you're pretty good at making me laugh. Then, why don't you go ahead and try? Show me how you're going to turn this around.
You're spoiled, Shi-chan. Even if you didn't have any appearances in the main scenario, if you've had so much screen time during this after party, you're spoiled.
Well then, exactly are you saying I was spoiled?
You don't understand, Shi-chan. Even if it's just the after party, you still have an appearance. You also appeared in a lot of previous scenarios. There's somebody who resents you from the depths of hell who can't forgive you. Listen, can't you hear it, Shi-chan? That's right! I understand now!
I get it! Kei-chan! That's right! He never has any appearances during the after parties. There's no way Kei-chan would allow somebody to monopolize all the after parties to themselves without him. I see. So, how is Kei-chan going to appear here when he doesn't even have any character art? It couldn't possibly be they insert new character art just for this.
That's just your self-centered way of thinking, Shi-chan.
No, if the lights are turned off. Chie, hold Rena back. Huh? Huh?
It's too late! Save me, Keiichi!
That voice is Kei-chan! Rena, you have my thanks, even when the moon abandons the land and shrouds it in the true darkness. The demon lord of the Flowerwork is black! My Keiichi shall appear! I see, if it's like this, he can appear, even if he doesn't have any character art. There's no character or background art, so it's really easy on the production staff. Shion! You act like you're the main character in a tragedy. From my point of view, it's more like a comedy. It seems like you've gotten a little carried away. Every after party, without any character art, without any sort of appreciation, witness my anger, my grudge, and all my sorrow. I shall instill it all upon you.
It almost seems like Keiichi is doing some sort of bad guy transformation sequence.
This isn't some sort of transformation. I'll have you know I've always been a demon lord. And as of right now, this world which has been enveloped with the true darkness shall dance upon the palm of my hand. Within the world of darkness, there is none who can oppose me.
Keiichi is kind of scary.
Scary? The age of the frightening Higurashi has come to an end. From here on out begins the dawn of the perverted and Kinsey Higurashi. What'd you say? Maibara, bring me with you! You know it, coach. That as a first step, I shall show our Dr. What? What is this? Sakano is in a mini skirt nurse outfit, and it's such a pink one when you find it. What he's doing. It's a proper, pure, and innocent white. Even though she's just sitting here, the everyone's sitting in the base around. You've got to be kidding me. Well, then on the next target. Rena, this doesn't change the situation at all. It's just turned into a different type of crisis.
I can't do anything in this darkness.
Then who should I make wear next? Maybe a nice school uniform, gym clothes, school swimsuits, triple combo? Maibara, you're the best. How about a bunny girl or a campaign girl? No. What? No, wait. How about me? No. That's a good idea. You know your stuff, coach. I feel like we're finally seeing eye to eye here. Wait, Maibara. No. Kay. Call me ill from now on. Call me Dr. What the hell? Kay, you can't forget about us. Tommy and Kurata are already on our side, Kay. What? Tommy, Kurata, we're finally all here. The Elite Four have arrived. Finally, with Kay at their head, the evil Elite Four have made their grand entrance. With the complete darkness, the demon lord of the darkest black, my Keiichi was finally able to reach the surface world. His magical power has, without equal, in this darkness nobody can stand against him. All must bow. Well, the heroine's been able to escape the darkness and be forced to submit to the will of the demon lord, forced to wear embarrassing outfit after embarrassing outfit, being used as life-size dress-up dolls for all eternity. That's great! More! By the way, the school swimsuits are the classic type, right? I won't forgive you for the competitive swimming style. Damn it, Shion! Thanks to you and I like this, do something about it! It's alright, sis. Kei-chan isn't the only one who can unleash their true power amid the darkness. Huh? Did we have such a convenient ally? You're rare and pertinent, Sonozaki Shion. Also, you're expecting help from the principal. That's too bad. This is the ultimate desire of young men. If you call yourself a man, do your best is written on the nice little authorizations to appear. Of course, you won't be able to rely on the newcomer Akasaka either. He's been in the private couple of hot springs vacation his wife's family set up for them since yesterday. In other words, all the bases are covered. You're so naive, Kei-chan. Even characters who are able to reveal their true form in the darkness. Chie! That's how it is, Maibara. It's so dark I can't really tell, but it seems like Chie's outfit is different. What are those? all those swords in her hands. They couldn't be. Any more than that is a secret. Oh, wait. No. Oops, that's Rika's voice.
Any more than that, it's a secret. Nipa.
Maibara, that was just a little too much mischief on your part. The church can't overlook any more than this. What? Wait a minute! This here! There's no way, right? That's cheating! It's against the rules! Hey, she can't do this, right? Wait, you can't use that big one! Huh? Her archetype is starved by invincibility! The seventh... Okay, if you can't tell, her character's like a reference to that one Fate Stay Night anime that I never watched, based on like CL or something. I don't know. I haven't watched Fate Stay Night or whatever.
Hello again. Thank you very much for playing Higurashi When They Cry HIMATSUBUSHI. I think you already know this, but Higurashi When They Cry is a type of visual novel without any choices. Therefore, compared to the adventure-type visual novels with branching routes to take, it's much closer to experience of a book or a movie. Because of that, there's an opinion out there that this should not be called a game per se. If you're watching it like a book or a movie, Higurashi When They Cry isn't really a game. True. That's why, as you know, there are a lot of mysteries referenced during the course of the experience. When you challenge those, this work will become a proper game. All the players have the privilege of scrutinizing this mystery-packed story from all sorts of angles. For example, forming a theory about the mysteries during the course of the story, sharing them with your friends and receiving their theories in return can be fun. In any case, the next chapter starts as the answer arcs. We've tentatively called it Meakashi, but answers are a sad thing. Based on what is revealed, all the possibilities you were allowed to imagine until now will suddenly become refined down to a few. Based on that logic, we think that right here before the answer arcs is probably where people can enjoy this work we call Higurashi When They Cry the most. If by chance while you're still reading this, you already have the Meakashi chapter at hand, please enjoy hypothesizing, theorizing, and fantasizing to the fullest before you start. That's where the real charm of the series takes place. Sorry for saying something so impudent. There's nothing better we'd like for you to enjoy Higurashi When They Cry. Well then, have a long and pleasant night. We're waiting for you all in Hinamizawa. If you come and play with Rena, I'd love to go treasure hunting together. Hello.
My voice is shot after all of that. So, alright, we're done. Thank you for showing up. We'll read Meakashi, the answer arc, which stars Shion as the main character tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hold on. Let me exit, and then we can end the stream. Bye-bye.